Welcome to the Vol Bros. We are two bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, who are two Vol Bros who are actually bros. It's sad that I still trip up over the intro to the thing that I wrote. So, um, we're glad that you're here with us. Man, what a night for the Vols! This was a huge win for many reasons, and we're going to talk about that. As always, we're going to open up after we talk about, give our thoughts. We're going to open it up, post a link in the comments. If you'd like to join us on screen, you can. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter right now. So plenty of opportunities to join us. For all the people who seem to come out of the woodwork every time the Vols lose a nationally prominent game, talking about, Rick Barnes can't win the big game and stuff. It's a rough night for those folks tonight. That was a big win, very big win. So, Rustin, what were your initial reactions to the Basketballs beating Texas 82-71 tonight, which I think that score actually is deceptive. I don't think it was as close as the score would indicate.
Yeah, I think probably the thing that stood out to me the most as I was just looking through all the stat lines and everything, we only turned them over 9 times. That's for the number. First of all, for the best defensive team in the country to only force 9 turnovers and still score 82 and win by double figures means our offensive execution was just unbelievable. That means we were extremely efficient on the offensive end. We didn't really have wasted possessions. We were finding ways to score points on every possession, and kudos to Texas. I tell you, I would not want to be in Texas's bracket in March. That team has a lot of fight. That team's crazy tough. We did a fantastic job not allowing them to get hot from 3 tonight. They end up shooting just under 30% from 3, which is way below their average. So, great job by Tennessee defensively to get up on shooters and not let them have any good looks. If you think back through the game, even the threes that they made, they were all very contested, and they've got some guys that can still make it. But we definitely made it hard for them to hit shots. And I think it was our most complete game of the year. We've had some great games this year. We've played some really good basketball, but I felt like this was the most all-around complete game we've had.
I totally agree. And when you look at just the results overall from today in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, it started off not looking good for the SEC, especially the Alabama game. Man, I hate that for them. But when you think about this day, somebody even tweeted, I can't remember who it was, but somebody tweeted the SEC needs Tennessee to win tonight after how the early afternoon games went. And when you think about Tennessee's season so far, they've now beaten Kansas and Texas in the same year. Two of the best teams in the Big 12, and Tennessee has beaten both of them. This is a impressive win for Tennessee. We got some folks chiming in the comments here. Zach said, "What's up, Vol fam? Great win, absolutely." Braden said, "What's up? What's good, Vol Nation? Got here early." That's what I'm talking about.
So right now, the Big 12 is winning the Big 12 SEC Challenge 5-3, and Kansas is currently beating Kentucky, and Oklahoma State is currently obliterating Ole Miss. So odds are the Big 12 is going to win this thing 7-3. So Tennessee getting an impressive win over Texas definitely helped the conference on a really bad day.
Well, and this morning on College Game Day, the basketball version of College Game Day, Jay Billis said something interesting. And when he first said it, I was like, I don't know about that. But then after the results of the day played out and Bama lost really bad, his words became more true as the day went on. This morning, Jay Billis on College Game Day said, this is an opportunity for Tennessee to solidify number 1 seed in the tournament. Now, Tennessee on Monday is probably going to be ranked at least at Braden said Joe Milton went crazy on College Game Day. Yeah, he did. He threw that one ball, man. Like the upper deck. That was incredible.
Zach said he thought we'd won 4 so far. So far, the only games the SEC's won is Missouri over Iowa State, Tennessee over Texas, and Mississippi State in overtime over TCU.
Yeah, I think they did put up a screen or a caption or graphic on that game.
They
May have
did.
been incorrect.
Yeah, ESPN kept posting the wrong thing, which is unfortunate considering it's their series.
Yeah, that's true. So that statement from Billis, when you think about it, Bama goes down today, so Tennessee's going to be ranked higher than them. At the very least, they're going to be number 3, could be number 2 on Monday. And I mean, here's the deal. From that point forward, it's theirs to lose at that point. It's just like at the end of the football season, Tennessee controlled their own destiny, essentially. I mean, they needed somebody to lose, and that ended up happening twice. 2 teams lost there in the championship week, but Tennessee essentially controlled their own destiny. You went out and you're in the playoff. Everybody pretty much knew that. Well, we saw what happened. So it is now the same scenario for the basketball team. If they do what they're supposed to do from here on out, even if they don't win the SEC tournament, if they control the rest of the regular season, they will be a number 1 seed in March Madness.
So Ken Palm just ranked Tennessee number 1 in the country.
I saw that. Yeah.
For those of you who don't follow kenpalm.com, that is one of the top analytical organizations in the country, and the NCAA selection committee pays attention to Ken Palm. That's one of the things they use in their decision making process, because it is completely statistical. And he, as of right now, has Tennessee as the number 1 team in America.
That's a big deal. That is a big deal. And Zach was reminiscing with us there about football. Yep, totally.
We don't talk about that anymore.
Snap and clear. Should I say that? That was a Butchism. Maybe I shouldn't say that too. But yeah, I agree, Zach. I mean, it was in their hands, and so now the basketball team's in the same situation. It's in their hands. Can they finish it out? So we always do this. Our player of the game. I don't know. I'm torn on this one. I'm never very decisive on this, but who's your player of the game, Rustin?
I ripped him the other night, so I've got to pick him now. Like I said the other night, when he shows up, he is the best. He is the best post player in the SEC. I know there's Oscar Tshiebwe, blah, blah, blah. Olivier can be the absolute best post player in the SEC. He's the most athletic. He has the best range. He has the versatility to play inside out. And when he decides to show up, he's the best player on the court. It doesn't matter who they're playing. And tonight, the pride of Helsinki, Finland, finally showed up in a big game. And what happened? 27 points, 8 boards. He dominated the entire night.
And I've just realized I didn't have our names displayed. Rustin updated his name this evening in honor of Olivier Camois. So that's what I'm talking about. My player of the game. Now, I think game is an important word here, because if we were doing player of the second half, it'd be Zakai Ziegler. Man, he just took over. There was about a 5-minute stretch in the second half where he was just like, okay, I'm going to take over the game now, and just dominated for a little bit there. But since it's player of the game, and Zach said he agreed with you about Olivier. And yes, actually, Zach asked it. Did they rank him over Purdue? They did. Ken Palm did. He actually just ranked him number 1.
Ken Palm dropped Purdue to number 4.
Oh wow. They weren't super impressive over their win over Michigan State.
Now again, it's not the Associated Press poll. When the AP poll comes out, Purdue will probably stay number 1. Tennessee will probably move up to number 2. We're talking about Ken Palm, and that is completely analytics. It's completely statistical. And I mean, it's based on real live stats, and statistically, he's saying Tennessee is the number one team in America.
Braden said Como is his player of the game too. So, like I said, if I were given the award out based on one half, then Zakai Ziegler would be my player of the second half. But since it's player of the game, yes. So Elijah just said, "Wait, so Tennessee is number one on Kim Pom?" That is correct. Yes,
they just updated the rankings about 15 minutes ago.
So my player of the whole game would be Olivier Kamwa, because I mean, he by far his best game. It was an interesting statement from Rick Barnes after the game. Somebody was talking to in the press conference. They were asking about Olivier's performance and everything. And Rick said, he said, I love Olivier, or he called him O. I love O. I really do. And he said, we've had some really tough conversations over the year, including just a couple weeks ago, because tonight is what he could be. And I was like, man, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So that he was my player of the game. But even in the first half, Zakai it was such a smart, intelligent basketball play. And I get it. They're all basketball play because it's basketball. It's like when somebody's like, that's a golf shot. That's a golf shot. Well, it's like Bill Engvall says, of course it's a golf shot. Like he just hit a golf ball, that kind of thing. Rustin, we may have Finland invaded Rustin's computer there for a second. So, of course it's a golf shot. He just hit a golf ball. So, of course it's a basketball play because they're playing basketball. But Zakai made such a smart basketball play. In the first half, it was right before the under 12 timeout, I believe. And so right before that under 12 timeout, he's bringing the ball up the court, and Carr, I can't remember Carr's first name for Texas, but Carr's trailing him. Zakai knows it. And you've seen Zakai do this before, but he stops on a dime and makes Carr run right into the back of him, picks up a second foul on Carr, 70 something feet away from the rim. And I mean, it's just a really, really smart play, And that was actually a very important moment in the game because Carr was their leading scorer coming into tonight. And he had to leave the game for an extended period of time in the first half. It's a subtle, small little thing, but that was a really, really smart play by Z. And it got their leading scorer out of the game. That can't go under, or not mentioned, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So, play of the game. What was your play of the game?
My play of the game is actually 1 minute and 6 seconds long.
It's a long play.
Yeah. With
the shot
2
clock
minutes,
is not that long.
with 2 minutes and 54 seconds left in the first half, Zakai Ziegler scored 8 points in 1 minute and 6 seconds. And that was honestly the differentiator. It's what sent us into the locker room comfortably ahead. You could see him come out of the locker room confident, knowing that they had this thing done. And I mean, anytime you're in the final 4 minutes of a half and a guy scores 8 points in 1 minute, that's a heck of a minute.
Yep. So my play of the game was very soon in the first half. Olivier had 2 of her first 6 points, and then Josiah hit a couple buckets. He couldn't miss at the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then they came down the court and ran a design play to get a oop to Kamwa. Man, it was pretty. That was pretty. And so that was my play of the game because that was his, I think, his third and fourth points of the night. And from that point forward, it was the Kamwa show. So that was my play of the game. It kind of set the tone for the evening. So that would be my play of the game.
Sure.
I'm going to put in the comments now. I'm going to put the link if you would like to join us. So we've had a couple other comments come through, so I'll put those up on the screen too. But I just put on YouTube and Facebook the link to join us, and now I'm going to do the same thing on Twitter. There it is. All right. And so now the link to join us is also on Twitter. And so a couple of the things that had come through, Zach said, let's be honest, was anyone scared at first when ZZ was put back out there in starting lineup? That's a great question. I mean, okay, so let's talk about that for a second, because that's a really good question. He said his play of the game was the back-to-back threes. So that question about Zakai, that's a really good question, because at the beginning of this year, Zakai actually requested to come off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to be in the starting lineup.
The
He was
plan
in the
was,
starting lineup for
yeah,
the
the
first
plan
game.
was for him to be the starter all year, and he asked to go to the bench.
So I think that's a good question by Zach, because I mean, I'm not Zakai, but apparently he felt comfortable being the sixth man.
Yeah.
And his play just mandated that he be on the court. I mean, that's the bottom line there. Let's move on to our last two things. We got two quick announcements, and I'm really excited about these. I think this is really a cool thing. I just saw your name pop up again.
Welcome to Helsinki.
That's funny. It just struck me again there. Next Friday, we have, so as you all know, we've already had Coach Lance Decker on our show. That was awesome. It was so much fun. And Rustin and I, when the Pride of Finland and I started this
Please
podcast,
address me by my correct name.
Yeah, that's my fault. When we started this podcast, we had a list of names that we, just brainstorming, that we were like, man, that'd be awesome if we had that person on the show one day, or, that kind of thing. And some of it was a pipe dream, but it quickly became a reality, which is awesome. And so this upcoming Friday, the one and only Mark Nagy is going to join our show. If you do not follow Mark Nagy on Twitter, I'm just going to do you a solid right now. Go find him on Twitter at Mark Nagy and follow that man on Twitter. He is hilarious. He is so good. Very still involved at Tennessee, and knows so many people still within the athletic department. He and Reed Carringer do a preview show every year still before the season. So he's gonna join us. We're gonna talk about his book, Decade of Dysfunction, and you're gonna love hearing from Mark Nagy. I'm very, very excited to have him on the show. Looks like Zach has joined us here. Zach, I'm gonna bring you on. He has the real UT. That's what I'm talking about. The real UT. That's right. Zach, I'm gonna ask you two questions, man. What were your thoughts about tonight's game, and who was your player of the game? Well, you already said Olivier, so tell us why he was your player of the game tonight too.
Well, first of all, my thoughts of the game was just total dominance. Yeah, we won by 12, but we really could have won by like 30. I mean, it's just total dominance from start to finish. And the reason that Olivier Comois, hopefully I'm saying his name right, is my player of the game. Is like you've always seen him make good plays, but you've always seen that make those, oh man, what are you doing type of plays as well. And he wasn't doing that. He was just getting the ball and shooting it, or finding his teammates. And that dunk, I think, was in the second half when Sakai Sato feed him the ball.
Yep,
that was amazing right there. I know I said back-to-back threes was my play of the game, but if I'm really thinking about it, that was actually my play of the game.
So I'm glad you mentioned that alley-oop as well, because when he went up to get that, I thought he was too far away from the rim. I didn't think he was going to be able to dunk it. I thought he'd have to either just lay it up or come down and then go back up. And he just kind of, I don't know how he did it. He kind of just moved through the air and made it to the rim and was still able to jam it. And that was an impressive play, because when he caught the ball, he was a good distance from the rim there. So I'm glad you mentioned that. That was an incredible play.
I thought he was going to go over the backcourt and be test his ball, but somehow he caught it and dunked it.
Yeah, it was really, really impressive. How happy are you for Rick Barnes that he beat the former employer?
It was good. I mean, anytime you can beat someone that you coached with or played with, you get that little extra oomph to go on with the season, and now he can go on about the SEC games and with a little
Absolutely.
oomph now.
Absolutely. It's kind of got the monkey off his back because they didn't beat him last year when they played him, and so they got to beat him this year. And so
Oh,
I was
let's not
happy
bring
for
that
Rick.
one up.
I was happy for Rick that he got to beat him. Well, Zach, man, thank you so much for joining us. We love having you on here, and we appreciate you joining us on the screen. That's awesome, man. You got any other last thoughts for us?
Yeah, I want to ask, what did you get that hat at? I've been looking at it past two shows now, and I've been looking for one just like that. What did you get yours at?
Volshop.com.
Ballshop.com? Okay. I'll go and buy me one.
Well, thank you so much, Zach, for joining us. We appreciate you, man.
I'll be on YouTube.
That sounds good, buddy. Hey, we appreciate you. Have a great evening.
You too.
Thanks, man. That's so cool. We love it when Zach joins us. So last announcement of the night. And
So,
this is
can I add one thing to Mark Nagy?
Sure.
For those of you who don't know who Mark Nagy is, he's been in sports information, sports anchor, sports reporting, all kinds of sports media in Knoxville for 29 years. He is known in the sports media realm in Knoxville. He is highly respected. And Decade of Dysfunction was really something that probably most of the sports media in Knoxville wanted to write, but only Mark Nagy, because of his role at the time, was able to write. So it's an incredible book. If you haven't read it, I would encourage you, get on Amazon, buy it, read it real fast before next Friday. I'll be very interested to see what all he actually can talk about and what he can't. Because he absolutely knows all of the inner secrets of what happened over that 10 years. And he was present for a lot of it. So that is going to be an amazing show.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to have him on here. Just a super nice guy, and he's hilarious. I mean, I know how a lot of people might know him. If you've ever seen the Brady Hoke tweets about, like, there's this guy who's always tweeting, like, to every school that has a coaching vacancy about, all caps, like, I know the environment we live in. I can be your coach. That's Mark Nagy. So I'm super excited to have him.
Which goes back to Decade of Dysfunction, because that was actually tweeted or texted to the athletic director at the time when Brady Hoke was politicking to be the head football coach at Tennessee.
Yep. Let's see. Elijah just made a comment. He said the fact that Tennessee's defensive efficiency is 5 points better than number 2 in that statistical category is crazy to me. Yeah, that's a legit point.
As soon as he posted that, I looked it up. He's right. Kim Palm now has adjusted the numbers. The number 2 defense in America is actually UCLA now. Houston dropped to number 3. UCLA's adjusted defensive score is 88.8. No, St. Mary's is actually 88.7. Houston and UCLA are 88.8, 88.9. Tennessee is 83.7.
Yeah, and that may not seem like a lot, but if you look at it, we're in tenths of points separating teams, and yet number 1 is 5 points ahead. He's saying his Sean Rutgers is number 2. 3 to 5 points ahead, depending on what source you're looking at or ranking you're looking at. That's incredible. And that's one thing that you hear. Dick Vitale said on the broadcast tonight. Every single person on College Game Day said it this morning. Dane Bradshaw said it, the other night on the game. Of course, everybody's like, well, Dane's a former player. I get that. Every single person, one of the first things they say about Tennessee is this is the best defense in the country.
Yeah, I didn't see Rutgers. Apparently, they suck on offense because they're way down the list, but defensively, they're at 86.7. So, yeah, he's right. But still, 3 points better than the next closest team is just unheard of in these rankings.
That's awesome. Well, that's what I'm talking about, Elijah. That's some good stat work right there, buddy. Let's see. Braden said, anyone else excited for baseball season? Absolutely.
20 days to Arizona.
How awesome was it that Tony Vitello comes walking in the gym tonight with a cut-off sleeve jersey.
Uro jersey.
Yeah, that was hilarious. And then Rustin saw right after the game ended, apparently as soon as the game ended, Zakai walks over to Vitello and daps him up there on the sideline, give him a handshake on the sideline. That's awesome. That athletic department, man, the way it's jiving right now and gelled together, it's incredible.
Well, even Josh Heupel, for those of you who haven't seen it, during a timeout, they brought Josh Heupel and the 23 signing class out to introduce him to the crowd, and standing probably 25 to 30 feet from the Texas bench, Heupel ends his announcement to the crowd with, let's keep showing them who the real UT is and what the right color of orange is. And he's standing right next to their bench. It's just unbelievable.
And Elijah said, the fact that they're that many points ahead in defensive efficiency, absolutely, it's wild, man. It's incredible. Elijah, you get the MVP award tonight for stat work. That's what I'm talking about. That was a good job, buddy. I love it. Amen. No better time to be a Vol.
We are 20 days away from Vols playing Arizona in the MLB Classic, and we are actually 13 days away from the softballs tipping off first pitch. So it's spring is here. Doesn't feel like it, but spring is here.
Absolutely. So the last thing I want to show everybody, we're both pretty excited about this. I finished it really today. We finished it today. It was actually live last night, but so if you came across it last night, I appreciate that. Keep going to the site, please. But as of today, it's done. Boom. The volbros.com, baby. That's what I'm talking about. The volbros.com. I'm super excited about this. We got our YouTube channel auto feeding this page, so you can always find out what we got. You got Meet the Bros, us there, our Instagram feeding the page, our sponsors. Hey, gingermmt.com, Ginger Marvelous Mouse Travels, best travel agent in the world right there, in my opinion. Let's see, we got our contact us down there, a little button if you want to help support the channel. That'd be awesome. Up here at the top, we got a link to our audio podcast. And so if you ever want to find, you can find our audio podcast on Spotify, Anchor, because Anchor's owned by Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. I think Radio Public there's like 7 of them, and I can even remember them all. So you can find them all on those, or you can just go to thevolbros.com, and there's every single one of them in the audio format. Up here at the top, also, you still got the shop button, which links directly to our shop. And it's either going to be tomorrow or the next day. I just showed it to Rustin tonight. I just finished a new design, basketball design. It's pretty cool looking. I really like it. And so I'll be putting that on there, but we got all the stuff on there. Man, it's some good looking stuff. This is still, I think, one of our most underrated products right here. I love this. $52.49. Never forget, because the playoff committee will. I love that. And notice the placement of the football. I love that. That is awesome. Right where Chase McGrath's field goal went through. So check those out. So many different options come in so many different colors and everything, man. It's just a bomb. Thevolbros.com. Now live.
After we were talking about baseball, Zach asked the question, will that game be on TV? I'm assuming he's talking about that Arizona game. So that's the MLB Desert Invitational, which is actually a pretty big deal that Tennessee's playing in that. So February 17th, they play Arizona. February 18th, they play Grand Canyon. And both of those games will actually be on MLB Network. MLB Network's going to cover those. And then February the 19th, they play UC San Diego, and that's going to be streamed on MLB.com.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It'll be cool to see how the starting rotation works itself out, and that's going to be. What do you
As
mean?
if we don't know who it is.
Well, I can tell you who's throwing the first pitch in Game 1.
I can tell you who the first 3 games are. It's Dollander, Burns, and Beam. It's not going to change. Poor Xander Sechrist is going to be the midweek starter for the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's fair. It was interesting though. If you saw in Vitello's preseason press conference, it was like 2 days ago, I think it was. They were asking him about it, and he was super, super high on the incoming freshmen. He was saying that the freshman pitching, newcomers, I guess you could call them, that he is really, really excited to see them throw. I mean, I'm guessing they're probably going to come out of the bullpen, most of the time.
Yeah,
but it's going to be exciting. Hey, pitching wins, man. That's the key, and we got.
Here's the crazy thing, Seth Halverson's kind of the forgotten man in this, but people forget that coming into last year, Seth Halverson was supposed to be second in the rotation, and he got hurt before games ever started and ended up redshirting. But he's back. So it'll be fascinating to see where he fits into this, because he beat out 2 of these guys in last year.
Right. It's what's that phrase I'm looking for in my head? An embarrassment of riches. That too. Yeah. But it's an embarrassment of riches, and we're super excited about it. Zach you sell hats and t-shirts? Hey man, absolutely. He said, cool, I'll check it out. We got coffee mugs, we got hoodies, we got aprons on there, we got cell phone cases, t-shirts. Man, we got all kinds. It's awesome. It is, I mean, personal bias here, but it's an awesome site. It is absolutely the place to be on the volbros.com. He's awesome. That's what I'm talking about. Elijah said best pitching staff in the country by a mile. Yeah, no doubt about it. And let's be honest now. We're going to take our orange colored glasses off for a second. Is there anybody in the country that can even compare as far as the entire pitching staff with what Tennessee has? There's just not. I mean, there's just not. Because now you even have guys like Camden Sewell, who's back. This is his super senior year, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Volley fingers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's back too. Yeah. Is he a super senior or just a 4th year?
4th year. Then you've got this freshman class. You got Seth Halverson. You got Xander Sechrist. I mean, poor Xander Sechrist, he could be the ace at most every other school in the SEC, and he's our midweek starter.
Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah.
It's probably the next closest would probably be LSU, maybe Florida State. But it's a big drop off. I mean, when MLB.com is predicting that Dollander, Burns, and Beam are all going to be first-round draft picks, and that's your rotation. I mean, when has that ever happened?
That's nice. That's what I'm talking about. Elijah said, hopefully we can make it to Omaha this year. Oh man.
If we don't, the wheels fell off, because pitching wins championships, and we've got more of it than we can count.
And I agree. We should have been there last year.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking that we weren't. And I'm hoping that they're using that as fuel, and that Tony Vitello, every time they start feeling good about themselves, reminds them, hey, we're not at Omaha yet. And that should be the phrase. We're not at Omaha yet. The whole time, like, man, we got to make it to Omaha this year. Let's see. Zach said there are some, I won't say who, rip you out, like our merch. Hey, imitation's the sincerest form of flattery. But hey, I will say this. I'm gonna show this again. Here's how you know if it's legit or not. So on the back of most of the apparel, we got a little hashtag GBO at the Vol Bros on the top, right at the back of the top of each shirt. I should have brought my Battered Vol Syndrome Survivor shirt up here. Somebody actually today tweeted out Battered Vol Syndrome setting in, seeing all these Big 12 teams beat the SEC teams before the game started. So this is one of our best selling shirts right here. This actually is our best selling shirt. Battered Vol Syndrome Survivor, and on the back, I was actually wearing this shirt yesterday. Hashtag Go Big Orange at the Vol Bros. We have another version of this as well. It's like a seal kind of looking Battered Vol Syndrome Survivor. I like that one too. And on the back, boom, you got the Go Big Orange at the Vol Bros. So, hey, that's how you know it's legit right there. If it's got it on the back, that's legit. We got all kinds of stuff on there, man. Look at that coffee mug. I want that coffee mug, and I'm going to put it on this shelf right back there. That shelf right back there. That's where I'm going to put it. I love that Home Sweet Home one. That's a good looking one. We got Orange Bowl ones on there. The best orange, the Champions orange. Good stuff. That TriStar State one. That's people's typically one of their favorite, our people's favorite designs on there. So cool stuff. Let's see what other comments we had come in. This is awesome, man. I love all the comments. That's fantastic. Let's see. Braden said, "Hey, I heard Josh Heupel, Rick Barnes, and Tony Vitello are offering free whoopings if any other schools are interested." I'm guessing he's referencing the meme that was going around with Heupel with his feet propped up, all of them on the table there with the sign.
I tell you, I was just looking through Tennessee's baseball schedule. The home opener, bless, Alabama A&M has to come in for a doubleheader in Knoxville for the home opener.
Is that midweek or weekend?
I'm not positive. Tuesday, Wednesday. So midweek doubleheader. This is the same Alabama A&M that we set scoring records on last year.
Wasn't one of them like 26-1 or something?
Yeah. I don't know why we do this. Like, why do we bring these schools in and do this to them?
I think one of the games last year, we'll have to look it up. But one of the games last year was like 26-1.
Yeah.
In baseball.
We missed baseball. An extra point.
Yeah, like Dallas's kicker. I just said that poor team. Yeah, for real. Zach said, "I think baseball and softball go to Omaha." Hey, that's certainly a possibility. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
certainly a possibility. Oh, Elijah said he thinks the 26-1 game was against Iona. Yeah, that's a good point. Because, yeah, the first week of the season, they were beating teams like the cumulative score from the first week was something like 128-7 or something like that. It was crazy. I remember sitting there seeing that last year, and I was like,
Alabama A&M was
what in the world?
Alabama A&M was a midweek game last year, and we beat them 14-1.
There you go.
And now that I think about it, I remember that game. We didn't play any of our starters and still beat them 14-1.
Man. Vitello was already in midseason form in his oh, yeah, no doubt. Elijah said that team was historic. Absolutely. No doubt about it.
I'll tell you what, though, the two freshman outfielders they have, when you hear Tony Vitello yesterday sitting on a stage comparing them to Drew Gilbert and Jordan Beck, that's some pretty high praise. Nice.
Well, I loved when he was talking about Blake Burke, which still, I'm going to say, you know what? There probably will not be a time on this show when we talk about Blake Burke that I don't mention how beautiful his swing is, how smooth his swing is.
Yeah.
It's like King Griffey Jr. I mean, like it's that smooth. But, in that press conference, Vitello said, you got Blake Burke over here sitting, waiting his time when really he should have been probably starting at first base all season long. And Vitello said, but we had a 39-year-old Luke over there, Luke Lipsius over there. It cracked me up. 39-year-old. That was great.
Zach, I can find the schedule, utsports.com. Although I will say I'm a little agitated at utsports.com. They still have not updated the roster. That team takes the field in 20 days, and it still has last year's roster on the school website.
Yeah, that's not good. They need to update that thing.
But the schedule is correct.
Oh, man. Thank you, Braden. You just gave us a question that we can turn into a clip and post on YouTube later this week from this episode. That is a fantastic question. In y'all's opinion, who are the best VFLs in the NFL, NBA, and MLB right now? Well, I think the NBA one would probably be the easiest one. I would go Grant Williams. That's currently in the NBA. Oh, my goodness. Those other ones are tough. Well, okay, so this leads to another, sad point. Todd Helton got so close to being inducted in the Hall.
Don't do it.
He was so close, just barely missed the votes. Just barely missed it. And so close. Zach said he's watching Grant Williams right now. That would be my pick for NBA. NFL, oh goodness. It's got to be Trey Smith. I mean, like that would be my vote right now. He's dominating. Of course he is. That would be my vote right now. Well, okay, no, wait a minute. Zach makes a good point. Alvin Kamara. That's a totally
honestly point. I agree with you. I would go with Trey Smith above Alvin Kamara. The last couple of seasons, Alvin's been kind of average. Trey Smith's been Pro Bowl every year. I think I'd stick with Trey Smith.
He's just dominating on that Chiefs offensive line right now, making poor people look like middle school players out there sometimes, just the way he throws them around. But I mean I think those are probably those and
baseball.
Juwan. I mean those three would be the top three for sure. With Alvin, Trey, and Juwan. MLB, what do you think?
Nick Senzel with the Reds.
Oh yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
Maybe Garrett Crochet or with the White Sox, but I would probably lean towards Senzel.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I'm hoping.
Unfortunately, there's only 3 former Vols currently in Major League Baseball. We've got about 30 in the minors, but only 3 in the pros.
So that question right there will be very interesting 5 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you think about 5 years from now, who is going to be in the NFL from all of these teams?
Well, like I just said, we've got about 30 former Vols in the minors right now, and a bunch of them are at AAA. So in 5 years, all those guys are going to be in the pros.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, from all these different teams, from baseball, basketball, football, all these guys. I mean, from football, you're going to have people like Jalen Hyatt will be in the NFL. Cedric Tillman will be in the NFL. Darnell Wright will be in the NFL. Hendon Hooker, Joe Milton, Nico Iamaleava. Pretty close. So, I mean, that question in 5 years, Santiago Vescovi will be in the NBA. Olivier Kamwa might be in the NBA. Julian Phillips will be in the NBA.
Grant Williams is by far the best Vol in the pros right now in the NBA. But honestly, the next best isn't actually in the NBA right now. He's in the G League, and that's Jordan McRae. Jordan McRae is having an unbelievable year. And I am stunned that no NBA team has signed him to a 10-day contract just to take a shot. Because he's tearing up the G League.
Zach made a good point. He said CP's on the Falcons. That's a great point. Man, what a dynamic athlete. Oh, my goodness. You got this huge dude.
Taking Trey Smith.
Yeah. You got this huge dude, and they've turned him into a running back. I mean, why not? Just find ways to get the ball in his hands. Absolutely. Braden said for him, Alvin Kamara, Trey Smith, or Juwan Jennings, NBA Grant Williams, and MLB same thing, and I think it'll be Drew Gilbert, Trey Lipscomb pretty soon. Yeah, I haven't heard any updates on Drew Gilbert's injury. I hope he's doing like well in rehab and stuff.
Yeah, he's fine. He's at spring training already. So I tell you, speaking of Trey Lipscomb, the guy who played third base before Trey Lipscomb, Jake Rucker, will probably be the Minnesota Twins starting third baseman this upcoming season. He finished the year at AAA, and they were planning on bringing him up. So he'll be at spring training working to win the third base job for the Twins.
Braden said Velus Jones Jr. also had a pretty decent season this year. Yep, he did. Return specialist for sure. Elijah said always hard to pronounce Nico's last name. I agree. And then Zach said, say his last name again. Iamaleava.
Nope, you got worse.
No.
Yes, you did. It's Iao. Now you got me messed up. Iao Maleava. Iao Maleava.
Well, people would know who I'm talking about. They would know who I'm talking about.
You're just sticking with Nico.
Yeah. That's like that meme. You remember that episode of Friends where Phoebe's trying to teach Joey how to speak French? And she's like, say it with me. Jou. And he goes, Jou. She goes, ma, père, Claude. Je m'appelle Claude. Je le fleet flower. And so people turned that meme into this. And it said, Ia, male, ava. And then he goes, Ia, male, ava, Nico. I was like, yep, that's right.
The Vols, actually, if you look at minor league baseball right now, it's pretty interesting. So Zach Warren, who pitched at Tennessee, he's at AAA right now for the Phillies. So he'll be at spring training. Christian Stewart, who was an outfielder for the Vols, he's at AAA with the Red Sox. So he's actually a pretty high prospect. He's got a good shot of making the Red Sox. Drew Steckenrider, who was a pitcher at Tennessee, is at AAA with the Mariners. Ben Joyce, the fireman himself, got sent directly to AA right out of the draft, just went straight to
Trash
AA
Pandas
for the Rocket City Trash Pandas. So I fully expect he'll probably start the season at AAA, and he might be in the majors before this upcoming season's over. They're not gonna. There's only so many bullets in the gun, and when you got 105 mile per hour bullets, they find a way to get you up there as fast as possible.
Okay, so here's an interesting question, and I just thought about this, and certainly money doesn't play into this at all in any professional athletics, but if it did, do you think a major league team would bring someone who can throw 105 miles an hour? Would they move them up knowing it's going to, at least for a few games, bump up attendance in the stadium?
Oh yeah.
And sell tickets.
If Ben Joyce could figure out how to locate his slider, he would be in the majors day one. Because when you can throw 105 miles per hour and then all of a sudden snap one off that bends a little bit at the end and you can spot it, you're almost unhittable.
And the reason that made me think of that was last year when they were out, I think they were in Houston at the beginning of last year playing 3 games in Houston. They ended up playing Texas and all these teams. And I think it was UCLA. I could be wrong, but it was another team in the tournament there in Texas, in Houston. And they brought in Ben Joyce. And all of a sudden, the team that was playing the next game, they all walked down the bleachers to get as close as they could. And it was like a bunch of little kids. The photo is just like a bunch of little kids like looking over, just to see what it looked like to see him throw it that fast, I think it was UCLA's team that did that. I could be wrong, but
I think you're right.
But that was, that one photo that shows people want to see it, man. Like they want to see how fast is that really? And I think it just as like a novelty. I think it would sell tickets, and so I think, for that alone, whatever organization he's in, they want him to succeed. Like they want him to thrive so that they can bring him up and say, "Come watch this dude."
Weirdly, the Rocket City Trash Pandas, which is in Huntsville, Alabama, is with the Angels, which I've never understood.
Yeah, that's weird.
So there was a couple of questions there. Yes, Jordan Beck's at Single A in the Rockies organization. He's with the Fresno Grizzlies. Zach asked who got Evan Russell. Evan Russell actually retired from baseball. He played
Like
a
2
little
weeks
bit.
ago.
Yeah, he played a little bit last year, and just made a life decision that it was time to stop. So he actually has retired from baseball.
Yeah. Basically, if you get on Twitter and find his Twitter account, he gives an explanation on there. Essentially, it was a business decision. He understood that, it was going to take years for him to move up through, and he was essentially predicting he might not even get, past double A, maybe triple A, that kind of thing. And he decided to step away, and he's going to, run some camps and stuff like that for kids. And so he went into that on his Twitter account. But yeah, that post was no joke, like at the most 2 weeks ago when he posted that on Twitter.
Yeah.
So that's really fresh news. So that was a good question. I'm glad you asked that.
I wouldn't be shocked at all if in the next year or two we see him as a grad assistant at UT and eventually working into a coaching role there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good point.
And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't say this. Drew Gilbert finished Single A. He got injured, didn't get to finish the season, but he finished Single A this past year in the Astros organization with the Fayetteville Woodpeckers. God bless minor league baseball.
Yeah. The Montgomery Biscuits, the Rocket City Trash Pandas, the Savannah Bananas,
the Aberdeen Iron Birds.
You got some.
Zach Lingenfelter's at AAA. He's a former pitcher for the Vols. He's at AAA in the Phillies organization, which is the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs.
Oh gosh, a pig strikes such intimidation into the soul.
You haven't seen a pig till you've seen an iron pig.
Exactly. It bumped up a notch when they became iron pigs. Like Iron Man, nope, Iron Pig. That's what it is. Well, awesome, man. This was fun. Like, we love having people asking questions and stuff. That's the best part of it, man. It's been a blast. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Be on the lookout next Friday, February 3rd. Be on the lookout that afternoon. We'll have. I'll tell y'all what we need to do is get that DB coach from Tulane over to Tennessee, especially since he's a VFL.
JJ McCleskey. I've been screaming it for months.
Yep. But we so appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Hey, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We're so close. We're so close to 1,000. That'd be so cool to reach 1,000. Elijah, we appreciate you joining us, man. Thank you for hanging out with us. You're welcome back anytime, as always. And so check out thevolbros.com. Oh, I just hit my mic. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We'd love you to do that. Like and share. Hey, text a buddy, y'all. Text a buddy about the Vol Bros. We would greatly appreciate that as well. Oh, Zach, you're the man. He said I would subscribe 1,000 times. Hey, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, see if it'll let you.
Take a shot.
And then Braden said, y'all have a good night. You hope you have a good night too, Braden. We appreciate everybody. Like I said, be on the lookout Friday afternoon, February 3rd, interview with Mark Nagy. It's going to be so much fun, man. It's going to be great. So we appreciate it. Everybody joining us. We hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Go Vols. Huge win tonight. Potentially setting up a number 1 seed in the next month and a half. So that's going to be a really big next month and a half, including a game against Alabama at home in just a few days, it seems like now. So we hope everybody has a great evening. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you soon.